Hi, it's Fiber Friday, so we're going to do some knitting ideas. And I am using Knit Picks. It's a DK, Swish DK, but you can use a larger, like a Brava worsted. And we're going to work on a hat, which will teach us how to work in the round. Now, first of all, you need to cast on 72 stitches. And because I'm using DK, this will be for a child because it'll be a little bit tighter. If you use the worsted, it will be a little bit bigger. And my needle and my wire are, the wire is 30 inches and my needles are 5 inches each, so that gives me 40 inches of working room. And we're going to work in the round, which is one of the first steps. I have a young friend that wants to learn how to do socks, and so this is one of the first steps to doing in the round, is to learn to work on larger needles, larger area. So if you want to stop this video and cast on your 72, I wasn't at home, so I didn't have my stitch markers when I cast this on. So I have just cut off some scrap thread and made myself some stitch markers, which makes it easier for me to count. I put, I think I have 30, 30, and 12. So if you want to stop this video and go ahead and get your stitches cast on, then come on back and we will go ahead and I will show you how to get started knitting in the round on some circular needles. Okay. Okay, so I've waited just a little bit to give you guys some time to cast on. When we cast on, we have, I usually leave my stitches pretty close to the edge so that I know where my working yarn is going to be, because you don't want to work with your tail end. So I want to make sure that my working yarn, I'm right-handed, so mine is on the right-hand side of my table. And I know that I have 72 and I want to cut that in half. So I want to do one, and this isn't necessary. Don't feel bad if you don't know where to cut yours in half. Just cut it wherever you want to. So what I do is I basically go in between two stitches until I can see my cable, and I start pulling my free side, or you can push. A lot of times I push because I don't want to take my stitches off my good needle. But you just keep pulling until that other side pretty much has your needle. Your needle has all of your stitches. Okay, kind of like that. Now the next thing you want to be careful with is you don't want to twist these stitches. So you want I'm leaving my nubs right in the center, right on this side, and my cable and my needle are on the bottom side. And so I'm going to kind of make them look like this. Let me get it. So I have all of those little nubs on top after I've twisted it, and you can open it up again to make sure that it's not twisted. There we go. So they're all kind of going in the same direction. Okay. The next thing I do is the needle on my left is the one that I want to start knitting. So I'm going to push all of these stitches up onto my needles for now. And you want to remember which one is your working yarn. So I'm pushing all of my needles, even both of them, just to get them even and to get all of the stitches that I want to knit on my left-hand needle closer to the edge. Now you don't want it too far, you don't want to lose it. So then my tail I'm going to push back, and I'm actually going to hold it against the needle with my fingers so that I don't knit it and it doesn't get in the way. Now I know my stitches aren't twisted. The next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and pull my right hand needle, and I'm going to leave myself just a little bit of a loop down here, but I have enough cable that I can start to knit. And we're going to knit first, so I want to make sure that this thread is on, yeah, it's under here. It's on, take it over and put it on the back of your needles, on this side of your needles, back here, not on front, but on the back. And then just go ahead and start knitting. And we're going to do a knit 3, purl 3. Now, what I like to do is I like to use my fingers to kind of keep the stitch on my left hand and the stitch on my right hand real close together so that I don't get a big gap between them. So I'm going to go ahead and knit 1 stitch, take it off, knit 2 stitches, take it off, 3 stitches, take it off. Then I'm going to purl 3. Now, some people throw their stitch from here, they go back and then forward. I don't, but it's up to you how you want to purl. I actually take the thread that is right here and I wrap it counterclockwise or clockwise around my needle. Because what that does, you don't have as much yarn. When you go counterclockwise, you have quite a bit of yarn going from where your stitch is and around, and you don't need that much. But this is a personal choice, because if you do it my way, then you have to know how your stitches lie to know whether you knit in the front or in the back on the next row. So let's go ahead and purl 3. And then I put my stitch to the back, my thread to the back, and I'm going to go ahead and knit 3. 1, 2, 3. Last week's video showed you how to determine which way your stitch is laying, whether you need to knit in the front of the stitch or in the back of the stitch. So if that helps you, go ahead and find that video and follow it, so that if you're going to purl the way I purl, you'll understand it. And I will show you on this video also how to determine that. It doesn't go, I won't go into as much depth as I did on the other video. And so we're just going back and forth, knit 3, purl 3. If you need some basic knitting stitches, you want me to show you how to knit and purl, please leave a message and I will do a video for you showing you how. There are some cast on videos in my group, so you can go look at those. If you need me to, I can put a link for it. Just make a little comment down there so that I know you need a link to the cast on stitches videos. And I'm going to have to cut this off because I somehow knit through it. That's the nice thing about using these thread-based, and I don't need them anymore. So the other thing that I want to show you is I'm ending up on 3 purl stitches, which is really nice for my crazy brain, because if I had to stop here, and I try to do this anytime I'm knitting and purling. If I have to stop here, then I know that the next stitch that I do is going to be a knit stitch. So then I'm going to go ahead and push the rest of my stitches up onto this needle that's free. And I'm going to pull my right hand needle out and I know that I have to, I have to knit and make sure my thread's on the right side. 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to purl 3. 1, 2, 3. So go ahead and do your knit 3, purl 3 to the end of this needle, and I will be right back to show you another trick on how to make sure that you're knitting and purling correctly. Okay, so our last 3 stitches should be purl stitches. Now, we were really careful not to twist our stitches, so before I start knitting on the next row, I'm going to make sure, because this is kind of a critical junction because you have thread in here, and so you could still get them twisted. It's highly unlikely, but you still could. So I'm going to go ahead and move my stitches, keeping all of my ribs on the top. Now again, I want to hold this tail. I don't want to knit with that tail, so I'm going to hold it with my thumb. And I'm going to pull my right hand needle out, just leave myself a little bit of a loop there, and then I'm going to start knitting again. So once again, because we have that, this only happens on our next row. After you've gone around another time, you won't have this gap with that thread. So I'm going to hold my stitch on my right hand side real close to the stitch on my left hand side so that I can kind of take up that gap, and I'm going to knit 1. Don't pull them terribly tight because they have to get up over your needle. And I split a stitch. You can see I split a stitch, so I'm going to just take my needle and pull it over, and I'm going to knit my next one. Now, when we get to this purl, what I want you to notice is when you lay out your stitch, it goes from here up around the back and over the front. So because of the way I purl, I'm going to have to purl in the back of that stitch to keep my stitches straight. Now, if you throw counterclockwise when you purl, you won't have to worry about this, but because most of the time this stitch will be laying on your needle like this, with the right hand side of the thread coming up over and back and then going to the left. And then you would just purl it like this. And you can check out my last video to show you how to do this a little. It goes into more detail. I'm going to purl, I have to put my thread through. I'm going to purl from the back, which will keep my stitches from twisting and becoming incorrect. So basically all you need to do now is go ahead and knit your knit stitches and purl your purl stitches. And let me get a couple of these done, and I will show you how you can tell what is a knit stitch. For example, if I had to stop right here and go answer the door or the phone or talk to my husband, I would come back and I would say, okay, what was I doing, knitting or purling? There are 2 ways. Since I only have a few stitches on my right hand needle, I can count 3 knit, 3 purl, 3 knit, and I'd know to purl. The other way that you can do this is if you look at your stitches, your purl stitches have a bump. Let me go down to here. These are my purl stitches. Let me get my needle going. 1, 2, 3. And when you look at it, it has a bump across right at the needle and the thread. Whereas your knit stitches, when you look at them, they don't have that bump. They're very smooth on this side, and there's a bump. 1, 2, and this one has a bump also. It's just that you can't see it because my thread's pulling it. So there's 1, 2, 3. So that tells me those are purl stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and purl those. Now, one of the tricks that I do when I am knitting is I will try to always, like if I had to go answer the door, I would try and purl those 3 stitches, because in my mind, I keep in my mind that the next stitch I have to do is purl or knit. And so it's the same way when I ended it at the end of one section. If I had to lay it down, I know that I start with a purl. So those are little tips and tricks. Even if it takes you an extra minute to finish a set, for example, I'm knitting 3 and my doorbell, pretend it just rang, I would try and get these 3 purls done. 1, and then I would lay it down and go answer my door, so that when I came back, I would know that I'm starting with a knit stitch. Just little things that help you get through your knitting and keep things a little bit more organized. Okay, I hope you've liked this. I will post it. This will be a Fiber Friday. So look for these videos on Friday. The rest of the week, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we do paper. And for now, that's what we're going to do. I appreciate you coming. I'm really glad to have you as subscribers and visitors. I want to thank you, and I will see you again. Bye-bye.